Matt said, my name is Jeremiah Ward, and I am loved. Yeah, I'm accepted. My life matters, and yours does too. We're going to talk about that a little bit tonight. So, when I was younger, there was part of me that always wanted to be really, really, really good at something. Like, I was okay at a lot of things, and I could kind of get by with this and that, and anything I picked up, I'd at least be okay at it, but I always wanted to be like the best at something. Sadly, I've never been the kind of person to want to practice to get that good, right? So I never quite made it. But I had that desire because I wanted someone to notice me, right? I wanted to matter. And I was thinking about that a little bit. What is that inside of me that wanted to be noticed and wanted to matter, that wanted to excel at something? And I thought, I wonder if it's connected to a more fundamental desire. I want to be accepted. I want to be loved. I want someone to care that I exist. Have you guys ever had those sorts of feelings? Or is it just me? Right? I got a couple honest people, and maybe some people who don't deal with that. That's all right. Anybody else feel like that sometimes? Yeah? Okay, there we go. All right. We respond to that feeling in different ways. One of the ways that I see people respond to it, and that I have personally responded to it, is we change the way that we talk sometimes. We change the kinds of clothes that we might wear. I see people all of a sudden they start dressing in all black. That's kind of an extreme example. But they do that because they want a particular group to notice them, right? So that they can fit in and so that they can belong and be accepted. Or maybe it's not all black, right? Maybe it's a jersey, right? Maybe we practice at a certain kind of sport. Maybe we try to make sure we have the latest game, Back in my day, it was like Halo and Halo 2. We're on like Halo 14 now, I think. Right? But we cling to that kind of stuff, and we work really hard at it so that this person or that person or the other person might accept me or notice me, or I'm going to dress this way, I'm going to wear my hair that way, I'm going to put this sort of stuff on so that I can look a certain way so that people will receive me. Some of us respond a different way. Because we kind of feel like none of that's ever going to matter, and no one's really ever going to notice me or care, so we kind of turn inward. Instead of trying to do stuff outward, we turn inward, right? And we kind of just shy away from everybody, and we get real quiet, and we shut down, and in more extreme cases, we try to get attention however we can get it. Sometimes that's by acting out, right? Doing dumb stuff so that someone will notice, at least in a bad way, right? Or in other cases, I've had friends, even some of my own family, that turn to things like hurting themselves just so they can remember they're alive, right? All of that stems from this one question that I think all of us need to answer if you haven't tried, and I think most people have tried at some point. And our one question is, who am I? Who am I? Or who are we? Because when you deal with why do I matter? Is my life valuable? Can I contribute something? Do I belong somewhere? It all goes back down to that question. Who am I? Now, I'm not going to pretend to be able to answer that question completely and fully for every one of you tonight. That would be a much bigger promise than I could keep, right? But we can deal with a small part of that question. Who are we? We are human. And humans matter. Because as humans, we have been made living pictures of the most important, beautiful, wise, good being that exists. And I want to walk through that a little bit tonight about what exactly that means. And I want to show you from the Bible, because the Bible is far more important than whatever I can say. So we're going to look at that a little bit. So we're going to turn to Genesis chapter 1, verses 26 through 28. It should be up on the screen. So God has just made the world. This is like the very beginning of the story. And God went through and carefully in his wisdom crafted this place that was beautiful and good. And he filled it up with all kinds of cool creatures and beautiful plants. And at the very end of that work of creation, he did one final thing. He made human beings. And he says some very special things about them when he makes them. So we're going to read this passage. It says, Genesis chapter 1, beginning of verse 26. Then God said, "Let us make human beings in our image to be like us. They will reign over the fish in the sea, the birds in the sky, the livestock, all the wild animals on the earth, and the small animals that scurry along the ground." So God created human beings in his own image. In the image of God, he created them. Male and female, he created them. Then God blessed them and said, "Be fruitful and multiply. Fill the earth and govern it. Reign over the fish in the sea, the birds in the sky, and the animals that scurry along the ground." So you notice it said like 3 times the words image, or in some versions or translations it'll say likeness, a picture. Human beings are a picture, an image, or we're made in the image of God. But what in the world does that mean? I've been in church a long time, and there are not a lot of people I know that can answer that question well. So we want to clarify that a little bit. What does it mean to be made in the image of God? Now, this is the fun part where you get to talk, all right? You guys have any ideas on what is it about human beings that's different, that might reflect who God is, his nature, his character, something about him? Smart. You know, that's a really good point. People say animals are intelligent, and they are, but I've never seen animals pave freeways yet, right? I've never seen them build rocket ships. You know, I've never seen them invent televisions or host TV shows. I've never seen them do integral calculus. I haven't seen a lot of people do it either, I suppose. But right? But the point is, collectively, as human beings, we have an intelligence that is innate in us, that reflects part of God's nature. He's a smart guy. He's intelligent. It doesn't take too long of looking around and paying attention to creation to notice that he might have a good idea what he's doing. Right, you can pick almost anything, and if you really spend time and think about it, it'll mess with your head. One of my favorite examples is just my fingerprints, because it's on my hand, right? They say that no 2 fingerprints are exactly alike. Now, I don't know if you've ever tried to trace your fingerprints, but it's pretty impossible. Now, imagine coming up not only with billions of patterns of those fingerprints, but with systems that generate them uniquely through generations and generations. God put that together, and he didn't have to think twice about it. You know what he's doing. It's crazy. What else? It's intelligence. That's one thing. What else is different about human beings that might be reflective of who God is, his character and nature? Any thoughts? If someone said something, I'm too deaf to hear it. I heard something, but I didn't catch it. Faith. There's another piece. Human beings have something that animals don't. We have the ability to relate to an invisible spiritual being. We are designed for relationship in multiple dimensions, if you want to think about it that way. Not just here among each other, but with an invisible supreme being. And we can relate to him, and faith is part of that relationship. Being able to understand and lay hold of and relate to something that I can't see but is real anyway. That's part of being made in the image of God. Any other ideas? What? Consciousness? Conscience. Did I get it? Conscience? Yeah. Animals don't think in terms of right or wrong. They think in terms of instinct, right? What'll help me survive, or what'll help my young survive? Human beings, on the other hand, we have something inside of us that in the right circumstance, it will bother you if you do something, right? Now, you might ignore it and beat it into the ground, but the fact of the matter is, at some point, in some situation, you did something and it kind of twisted your inside somewhere. Or maybe at some point you just knew that you had to do this thing. This was important, not because it helped you, not for the preservation of your children or something crazy like that, but just because it was right. That's something that's on the inside of every human being. We have a conscience. That's a really good answer. What else? Any other ideas? We've talked about our intelligence. We've talked about faith in relating to being able to have a relationship with God. We've talked about having a conscience, feeling the difference between good and evil. Anything else? Worship. That's a nice churchy answer. That's all right. No, that's true too. Although there's a sense in which all of creation worships, and worship is simply an act of being what God designed you to be, right? It's not just singing and stuff like that, although that's included. But yeah, absolutely. Again, with the relationship with God and honoring him for who he is, that's something that places us uniquely in the image of God. Anything else? Love. Huh. Now, you think your dog loves you. They might, I don't know. Right? You know your cat's just using you, right? As people, we can relate to each other in love, in a sort of commitment and covenant connection that is unlike anything else on this planet. People will risk their whole lives for someone that they love. They'll change everything about who they are for the sake of love. All kinds of crazy stuff happens. There's something about that community, that ability for people to come together that reflects the image of God. You'll notice in the passage we read, he said, "Let us make man in our image." Male and female, he created them. So mankind wasn't one person, right? It's multiple people. And at its foundational level, it was a man and a woman. And those two individuals together reflect something of the nature of God. That he is a triune being. That means it's this crazy thing we call the Trinity, right? It's one God, but there's three persons, a Father, a Son, and the Holy Spirit. And as a community, as people who can come together in relationship and in oneness, we reflect his supernatural nature in a very visible way. Yeah, love. Any other thoughts? Belief, that is a good synonym for faith. And so we'll kind of tie that in with faith there. And we've talked about that already. Any other ideas? I'm not really fishing for any particular thing, just in case you're trying to get the right answer. I just want to kind of broaden our scope of what this might mean. So any other thoughts? Again, relationship with a spiritual being. Good. That's a good churchy answer. There's other things too. Did you know we're designed to live forever? That's why we hate death. We're designed to live forever. Now, you're not going to, not in a physical sense. You're going to die, and there's a reason for that. But as a being, the inside of you never wants to quit. You have a desire to keep going and to keep going and to keep going and to keep going. You have a desire to keep existing. That's why there's this fear, this hatred of anything that's like death. That's why as an entire culture, we ignore it and stuff it under the rug and do everything we can to prevent it. We've got billion-dollar industries founded on the prevention of death. Because there's something inside of us that's designed to live forever, and that reflects the nature, the image of God. Now, the truth is, every part of our being as humans, every part of who you are, in some way reflects God's image. Every single part of who you are. Your physical being, there's senses in which it reflects God's image. Your mind, your ability to think, your mental stuff up here, right? That reflects God's image. Your spiritual being, your moral compass, the moral part of you that can discern good and evil. There is no corner or aspect of your being that is untouched by God's image. Y'all are probably too young to collect baseball cards or basketball cards, right? Does anybody still do that anymore? All right. Hey, okay, so what makes a basketball card or a baseball card, or if you want to get real nerdy, a Pokemon card, right? What makes those valuable? Okay, old ones, good. What else? Who's on it? What condition it's in, that's good too. Right, okay, whether the corners got dinged up or whether they kept it in good shape, you know. Babe Ruth, right? If you got like a mint condition Babe Ruth card, that's going to be worth something. Why? One, because as far as I know, there's not that many around anymore, but also because of whose picture is on it. When you have someone who is successful, who succeeds in their sport as an athlete, then the things that represent that person, or the things that have been touched by that person, or the things that have been signed by that person, increase in value. Right? I once had a drumstick that was probably touched by Taylor Swift. Right? I gave it to a friend of mine who cared more than I did. But just because of the thought that she might have actually touched it, like that, the value of that thing went from being a stick that got beat up severely in a concert, to being something of immense importance, being special. So if God is the greatest being in the universe, the most intelligent being in the universe, the most successful, the most wise, the best, and he took his image and imprinted it on every corner and aspect of who you are, what does that make you worth? Think about that. What does that make you worth? Right? You can't really measure it, truthfully, because you can't really measure God. That means something. That means something concerning who you are. Now here's the rub, the issue. There's a lot of things going on in our lives that don't really look like God. Right? Some of them are things that have happened to us. We didn't have any choice in the matter. It just happened. Maybe a decision someone else made. A poor decision, an evil decision perhaps. Some of those things that are going on, we made those decisions. I've done some pretty dumb stuff in my life. And I've done some pretty horrible stuff too. Some bad stuff. I've hurt people. And I've done it on purpose. I'll admit to that. I'll own that up. And that doesn't look like God. Right? Any of y'all ever do something dumb? Have any of y'all ever hurt somebody on purpose? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Now, that doesn't line up with what I just said about us, right? Because that's not God's heart. That's not who He is. There's a reason for that. And that's that the very first two people that were ever made decided that instead of wearing and walking in the image of God, they wanted to change that image and choose something else. They traded it. They traded what they were given, something perfect and beautiful and honorable and good, for something broken, for something twisted. And we're left with the mess they made. Not to blame them, because I've helped, right? I've made my own contributions to the mess. Morally, our right and wrong, nobody agrees on what that is anymore. It's broken. I told you we were designed to live forever. That's not working real well, is it? Right? Everybody that's ever lived has died except those that are still alive. And we're in the minority, I think, right? Relationships, how's that working out for everybody? Right? With your mom and dad? Well, wait. And not to get too real, but if you know who your dad is. No, I'm serious. I'm serious. I don't say that to diss anybody or be mean, but that is a reality for more and more people. And it's horrible, and it's wrong, and it's broken. What about your friendships? How long will those last? You know? I'm serious. It doesn't take much sometimes to train wreck those. Sometimes people you thought were going to be there for you aren't, just because the weather changed. I don't know. They ate bad pizza, now they hate your guts. All kinds of stuff can happen, and the relationships break down. Every corner of who we are was designed to reflect God's image, and every aspect of that image has been twisted and broken and marred. And sometimes we look a lot more like mirrors in a fun house, right? Something distorted, than we do like a clear picture of who He is. Is that making sense? Everybody tracking with that? Yeah, I hope so. So we're not going to leave it there, though, right? We're gonna walk through some hope. Thanks, Siri. All right. Shh, go to sleep, Siri. Let's look at this passage that communicates something that God did for us because we messed it up. This is in Philippians chapter 2, verses 6 through 11, talking about Jesus. Though He was God, He did not think equality with God as something to cling to. Instead, He gave up His divine privileges. He took the humble position of a slave and was born as a human being. When He appeared in human form, He humbled Himself in obedience to God and died a criminal's death on a cross. Therefore, God elevated Him to the place of highest honor and gave him the name above all other names, that at the name of Jesus, every knee should bow in heaven and on earth and under the earth, and every tongue, every mouth confess that Jesus Christ is Lord, to the glory of God the Father. So God made us in his image, and we messed that image up. So God sent his Son in our broken, messed up image. He gave up willingly that perfect place of authority, humbled himself into our mess, and we killed him. Brilliant, right? But that was the point. Because that mess that he walked through and did it well, perfectly, and died anyway, he can now trade us. Because he didn't stay dead, right? His death gave birth to a resurrection. And Jesus didn't stay dead, but he came back to life as a new kind of human being. One who is again perfect, made and reflecting the image of God. And he gave every one of us the opportunity to be restored into that image. That picture that's been bent up on the inside of us can be fixed. It can be remade. Because Jesus took the broken picture, paid the price for it, and was raised in power, a beautiful human 2.0. Right? Let's look at this next passage. This is Romans chapter 8, verses 29 through 30. And this is what he desires to do for us if we humble ourselves and submit to him. It says, "For God knew his people in advance," and look at this, "he chose them to become like his Son." Remember, this is the Son that became the human 2.0, the one who in perfection reflects the image of God. So to become like his Son, so that his Son would be the firstborn among many brothers and sisters. And having chosen them, he called them to come to him. And having called them, he gave them right standing with himself. And having given them right standing, he gave them his glory. Did you guys catch that? He's calling us back into the image, into the purpose, into the identity for which we were made. So what's broken can be mended. It can be restored. It can be raised from the dead. And he didn't stop at just fixing us, but he added to it. Right? He's sharing his very glory. Did you see that at the end of the verse? Sharing his glory, the cool, amazing, epic, awesome, unimaginable things about his character and nature. He is sharing that honor with us. Because we're not just humans, we're humans who are his children. He came down in our broken, messed up stuff, not to stay there with us, but to elevate us back from that mess into his position. He's a son, the Son of God, Jesus Christ, so we become sons and daughters. He's a king, so we reign. He inherits the earth, so it's ours, like it was intended to be. He lives forever even after he dies, so we live forever even after we die. He communicates and reflects the love and heart of God to everyone that he came in contact with and still comes in contact with, so that we also in his image can reflect and share and show the love and heart of a good father to everyone around us. Who are we? We're human. You're a human. And humans are designed to be living pictures of a wonderful, good Father. So here's the point, right? Here's like where it starts to connect back to your life if you thought I lost you somewhere. Okay, we're going to bring it all the way back around and tie it in now. If you know that you already matter, if you know that you are already accepted, if you know that someone already loves you, if you know that you already belong, if you know that you already have a family, if you know that the image that you are wearing doesn't have to change because it's already good based on what he's doing and has done for us in Jesus, you don't have to waste your energy and time trying to be loved. You already are. You don't have to waste your effort trying to make people accept you because you're already accepted. And all that energy that we spend looking at ourselves can be turned, just like the Father's heart, outward. And instead of trying to be loved, we can love. Instead of trying to fit in, we can show others that they're accepted. Right? We can show others that they're loved and that they already matter. Instead of trying to be excellent, we already are. And we can encourage someone else. I want to encourage you guys with that. If you guys didn't know that, if you didn't know that you mattered and that you're valuable and that you're worthwhile and that the image that you wear is amazing, I want to offer that to you freely because it was given to me freely. That can be yours. All you have to do is say, Lord, I want it. I want it. I'm tired of what I've been trying to be. I want what you've made me to be. All you got to do is take it because he wants you to have it. He desires it. It's in his heart. Right? And some of you all have already received that, but you kind of lapse, right? You're walking in and you kind of flip-flop sometimes and you hesitate and you forget. Be encouraged. You're loved. You don't have to play a game. Man. He loves you. He loves you. He loves you with a heart so big the universe can't fit in it. I mean the other way around. He loves you with a passion that can't be described in English or any other language. Right? Man, I hope you take that and walk with that and be encouraged in that. Man, let me pray for you guys. Father, thank you. Thank you, thank you. Thank you that I am loved and that I am accepted and that my life matters. And thank you for these, my brothers and sisters and friends. Some of them I don't even know, but I know that you love them and that you care for them and that you accept them and are calling them to yourself with your big Father arms. Please, may the words that I've shared tonight plant seeds in their heart that'll grow into beautiful things in their lives. Thank you. Thank you that it's your desire to do it. In Jesus' name.